this module, you'll be developing a module from your unit design that matches your grade level and content area. This module or lesson will meet the appropriate standards among INACOL's National Standards for Online Courses. A learning module serves as an organizing structure that you'll post online. Using the module, your students will interact with the content for the purpose of learning. Every module needs instructions, context, and resources put in a logical order that students can easily understand. Some well-funded virtual schools are able to produce complex learning modules, like the samples found at K-12 Inc.'s website, which I've linked in the course materials. Still, flashy technology isn't required to create a high-quality blended or online learning experience. Explore the straightforward but excellent learning modules about Africa for middle and high school students created by Michigan State University at exploringafrica.matrix.msu.edu. As an introduction to K-12 blended and online learning, you're not expected to be developing modules like these examples just yet. A simpler, single-page learning module can also meet INACOL's standards. I've built a module for you using last week's unit plan example. I published this module on 3 different free web tools for educators so that you can see the differences. I used Weebly, Wikispaces, and Google Sites. I consider all 3 relatively simple tools that can be great for the blended or online classroom. If you're familiar with another web creation tool, you're not limited to the 3 options I've used here. What's important is that you, 1, have the skills to create a simple page using the tool you prefer, and 2, you can share your page with the public using that tool, meaning it's not locked behind a password and anyone with a link can access it. If your module can't be viewed publicly, then your peer evaluators in this class won't be able to review your module. That would be a lot of work with very little to show for it. So send your link to a friend and ask them to double-check your link from a different computer. If you're not familiar with any website creator, choose one of the 3 I've used. I linked a list of helpful tutorials for these products in our course materials. Choose just one. Once you feel that you're ready to get started on developing your module and you have a blank web page waiting for your text, you're ready to get started. I don't have a template for you like I did in the first 2 projects. However, I can suggest some starting headers for your module. Begin with these 6 headers and adjust them to fit your needs. 1, grade level. 2, subject area. 3, context. Where does your lesson fit in with what students have been learning? Help your students connect what they will be learning in this module to something they already know. 4, standards. Remember, not every school has standards. If this doesn't apply to your context, just mention this briefly to help your peer evaluators. 5, learning objectives. What will students know and be able to do after this module? And 6, learning tasks. These are the step-by-step instructions you want your students to complete. Be sure this section includes links to learning objects, formative assessments, and summative assessments. Review my example again if you have questions. If you're a beginner with the web, you can also first write your module in a Word document and then copy and paste it onto a web page when you're ready. Continue to add and expand on each section, saving your work as you go. If you're taking this class with a friend, help each other out by sharing and discussing your work, or find a friend using our forums or Twitter. Don't be bashful. Ask your classmates for help. You can even tweet your module URL first and ask for feedback before you call it done. When you think you're done, conduct a self-check using the Developing a Blended Online Module Peer Evaluation Checklist. Read this checklist carefully. You should aim to get all criteria with a yes, but that's not always possible, and you'll need to earn at least 15 of the 18 to earn a score of 80% on the assignment. Now, I'll walk you through my own self-check of the sample 7th grade social studies module. In this tutorial example, I've created a learning module for 7th grade social studies class about Africa. And I've prepared an example for you on Weebly. I've also prepared one in Google Sites, which you can see here, and one using Wikispaces. They're all very simple and easy to use. I like the color and the form in Weebly, so I'll use this as our example for this tutorial. Now, once you have created your module, you want to be sure to self-assess using the Developing a Blended Online Module peer evaluation rubric. And you'll notice that just like in our last module about the unit plan, you're going to find on the side the standards are referenced with a number and a letter. You're going to be using this rubric to evaluate yourself and how well you did, and then also how well 3 of your peers did in developing a module. Now, if I look back at the example, you're going to see that I used some basic headings that included, well, at the top I've got here the grade level, the subject area, and then the topic. I've provided some context for our students in this area. And then below that, I've mentioned the standards. And I've even provided a link to the standards as well. And then the next section, I've provided the module objectives, as well as any downloads the students will need. Now, these are different files that I created and have permission to use. And finally, at the bottom, I have the step-by-step learning activities and each link that the students will need to be able to complete those learning activities. Now, I've provided for you my own self-assessment of how well I did on this module, and that's in the tutorial here. And in the first 2 criteria for A1 and A2, I provide an explanation of how well I did and what I think I could have changed. And I recommend that you do the same for yourself. Then, when you're using the rubric, or the checklist, to evaluate your peers, you'll be able to provide a high-quality assessment. Finally, after conducting your own self-check, turn in your assignment by pasting the URL link into the Dropbox. Be sure it's the publicly viewable link. Remember to ask someone to check it for you. After you've turned in your module, you'll be asked to evaluate the modules of 3 peers in our class. Please keep in mind that some peers are not classroom teachers, and some are not native English speakers. The objectives for this module are at the introductory level, and your evaluation of your peers should represent introductory expectations. Be kind and be helpful with your evaluation and comments. Once you've evaluated 3 peer modules, you need to complete a post-assessment, which is based on INACOL's National Standards for Quality Online Teachers. You've seen this twice before, and don't worry, it's still not counted for a grade. I hope that you've made some significant progress this time. In our discussion forum this week, I want you to discuss your results on this self-assessment. Where have you grown as a blended or online teacher, and in what areas do you need to keep learning? How do you plan to keep learning about blended and online learning? Do you have some suggestions on how your peers can join or build a professional learning community that will help them develop these skills?